And yes. So here is the text, and I hope you can see this text. Now, in my last class, I only had one class with you. That was the offline class in college. So we started the text, Oscar Wilde text. Now, the fact is, at the beginning of this text, you can see how this person called Algernon is expecting certain visitors, and he is waiting for them. And while he is waiting, he is eating these cucumber sandwiches, and he had a conversation with his butler, Lane. Now, Mr. Ernest Worthing or Jack Worthing, he comes in and they have this conversation. And when Jack Worthing learns that Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen, they are going to come, he is delighted because he is in love with Gwendolen, and he says, I am in love with Gwendolen. I have come up to town expressly to propose to her. So this is his intent or intention. That is why he has come up from the country. So he lives in the countryside and he has come up to London to meet Gwendolen. Algernon says, I thought you had come up for pleasure. I call that business. So Algernon is rather, in a sarcastic way, he says that that is not really something that you can call pleasure, coming for pleasure to enjoy yourself. That is a kind of a business that you are going to transact. How utterly unromantic you are. So Algernon, uh, when he says that, Jack exclaims that you are really very unromantic. You call that business. That is, if when I am in love with Gwendolen, you are saying that it is a business matter. Algernon says, I really don't see anything romantic in proposing. It is very romantic to be in love, but there is nothing romantic about a definite proposal. So he says that uh, proposing to someone, that is not a romantic kind of a thing. When one is in love, obviously that is a romantic kind of a state. But whenever someone is going to be, you know, someone is going to propose, then obviously uh, nothing romantic remains about that. Why? One may be accepted. One usually is, I believe. Then the excitement is all over. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. If ever I get married, I'll certainly try to forget the fact. So he, in his opinion, it is a kind of an ironical or a kind of a sarcastic statement. He says that as long as you're in love, everything is okay. But the moment you are proposing and uh, someone, your beloved, is accepting you, then everything becomes unromantic and prosaic. So the excitement is over. So the very essence of romance is uncertainty. So whether you live in a constant state of uncertainty. So to him, to Algernon, this is a very prosaic matter than that proposing. I have no doubt about that, dear Algie. The divorce court was specially invented for people whose memories are so curiously constituted. So Jack does not, of course, conform to this view of Algernon's, and he says that people like you who have such opinions about being in love and proposals and all that, they cannot live together and they go for divorce, and the divorce courts are there for you, people like you. Oh, there is no use speculating on that subject. Divorces are made in heaven. So, it's a common saying that marriages are made in heaven, but here Algernon says divorces are made in heaven. So, he is all the way, you can see his attitude. He makes everything, he looks at everything in a very light-hearted way. He's not at all serious in his approach. Jack puts out his hand to take a sandwich. Algernon at once interferes. So, all this time, Algernon was eating those sandwiches, those cucumber sandwiches. But when Jack tries to eat one or take one in his hand, he uh, prevents him from doing so. Please don't touch the cucumber sandwiches. They are ordered specially for Aunt Augusta. Takes one and eats it. So as you can see, he would not let anyone else to eat those sandwiches. So they are made specially for Aunt Augusta, and that is why he should not eat them. But he can eat those sandwiches. Well, you have been eating them all the time. So Jack says that, well, you have been eating them. If they have been made for Aunt Augusta, then why are you eating them? That is quite a different matter. She is my aunt. So he excuses himself by saying this. She is my aunt, so I can eat all the sandwiches. Takes plate from below. Have some bread and butter. The bread and butter is for Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is devoted to bread and butter. So since you love Gwendolyn and she loves to have bread and butter, you'd better take some bread and butter. Advancing to table and helping himself. So Jack comes forward, and very good bread and butter it is too. So he approves of the bread and butter, and he tries to help himself eat some bread and butter. Well, my dear fellow, you need not eat as if you were going to eat it all. You behave as if you were married to her already. You are not married to her already, and I don't think you ever will be. So he makes this pronouncement, and he says that he's always very critical about others. And he says that, well, you are behaving as if you want to eat everything. You are going to eat all the bread and butter. So do not try to eat everything. So it's not for you. Okay, just a moment. Someone wants to join. So I'll just. Okay, so he says that you are behaving in a manner as if you were already married to Gwendolyn, but actually you were not married to her, and there is little hope of your getting married to her. Now, Jack is surprised. Why on earth do you say that? Why on earth do you say that? So he is surprised. Why are you saying this? Uh, and obviously because he wants to marry Gwendolyn, and that is quite clear. And therefore, when Algernon says this, Algernon then he asks him this question. Algernon says, well, in the first place, girls never marry the men they flirt with. Girls don't think it right. So he gives the explanation that girls don't marry the men they flirt with. So Gwendolyn is flirting with you. So obviously, uh, she is not going to marry you. And because girls don't think it right. Oh, that is nonsense. So uh, obviously, Jack does not believe that Gwendolyn would not marry him. It isn't. It is a great truth. It accounts for the extraordinary number of bachelors that one sees all over the place. In the second place, I don't give my consent. So uh, you see that Algernon says that, well, that is the reason why there are so many bachelors uh, roaming around in this place, and that is the truth. So you have to believe in that. And secondly, he is not going to give his consent to this marriage. So obviously, uh, it seems that Algernon is not going to, he is not in favor of, uh, you know, kind of, he doesn't want Jack to marry Gwendolyn. Your consent. So Jack is extremely surprised. My dear fellow, Gwendolyn is my first cousin. And before I allow you to marry her, uh, you will have to clear up the whole question of Cecily. Rings bell. So Algernon says that Gwendolyn is his first cousin, and therefore uh, his consent is required. And you have to clear up the whole question of Cecily. So as you know, Algernon is in love with Cecily, and he uh, wants to marry Cecily, so he wants to be clear on that uh, matter. Cecily, what on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algie, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name of Cecily. Enterland. So Jack does not actually uh, say anything about Cecily. He doesn't want to discuss about her. So Lane comes in. He rings the bell. Algernon has rung the bell, and Lane, the butler, he comes in. Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here. So Jack, when he had last come to this house, he had left his cigarette case in the house. Now, during those times, during the late Victorian times, uh, there was this kind of fashion of smoking cigarettes, and in some other writings uh, of, uh, of Oscar Wilde, we also find references to these cigarette cases. And here, obviously, uh, there is this reference to the cigarette case. Now, here it seems, uh, as I was saying, that the cigarette case, the cigarette, was quite a favorite prop of Oscar Wilde. He used it in his plays, and in real life also he liked cigarettes. And in his novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, you will also find references to cigarette cases. Okay, yes, sir, Lane goes out. Do you mean to say you have had my cigarette case all this time? I wish to goodness you had let me know. I have been writing frantic letters to Scotland Yard about it. I was very nearly offering a large reward. So obviously Jack had missed his cigarette case, but he had forgotten that he had left it here in Algernon's house, and he had been frantically writing letters to Scotland Yard to ask them to find it out for him. So you know about Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard, it is in Whitehall near Charing Cross in London. So it is now obviously the headquarters of the London police. and now it is known as New Scotland Yard. So obviously, Jack was trying to trace his cigarette case, lost cigarette case. He thought that he had lost it, and that is why he wanted to. He was uh, he was writing letters, and he also was going to offer a very large reward for that cigarette case. So obviously, he did not know that it was all this time it was there with Algernon. So he is surprised that Algernon had not informed him about his cigarette case. So it seems that it is a very valuable object for Jack. Well, I wish you would offer one. I happen to be more than usually hard up. So he Algernon says that I think you should offer that reward to me because I am not very well off nowadays. There is no good offering a large reward now that the thing is found. So obviously Jack has no intention of offering the money to Algernon. Enter Lane with the cigarette case on a salver. Salver is a kind of a plate on which letters and small objects are placed. Algernon takes it at once. Lane goes out. I think that is rather mean of you, Ernest, I must say. Opens case and examines it. However, it makes no matter, for now that I look at the inscription inside, I find that the thing isn't yours after all. So now he opens that cigarette case and he looks at some writing that is engraved inside, and he says that no, it doesn't belong to you. Of course it's mine, moving to him. You have seen me with it 100 times, and you have no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It is a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case. So Jack objects to Algernon's behavior of, reading what is written inside. So it's a private message or something like that. So he says they shouldn't have read that message. Now, so he wants it back. Oh, it is absurd to have a hard and fast rule about what one should read and what one shouldn't. More than half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read. So again, Algernon is facetiously, he's light-heartedly commenting on Jack's statement that it's ungentlemanly to read what's written in a private cigarette case. So he says that there's no such rule. So half of modern culture depends on what one shouldn't read. I am quite aware of the fact, and I don't propose to discuss modern culture. So Jack is not at all interested to talk about modern culture just yet. It isn't the sort of thing one should talk of in private. I simply want my cigarette case back. So please give it to me. That is what he wants. Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know anyone of that name. So now uh, you will remember that Jack had he had not consented to talk about Cecily. So Algernon now pounces on this and he says, it's written that Cecily has given it to you. Now, you do not know anyone named Cecily, so this cigarette case naturally does not belong to you. So, obviously, Jack is in a fix now. Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt. So, obviously, that's a lie. Cecily is a young girl. So, obviously, she is not Jack's aunt, but Jack is not ready to give out her real, uh, who she is, to tell him, your aunt. So Algernon is obviously doesn't believe Jack. Yes, charming old lady she is too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Algie. So Tunbridge Wells is a place in Kent, in the county of Kent. It's a kind of a watering place or a place where people go for, change of weather. and it was quite a fashionable place in the 17th century. And it's quite an expensive resort where people from the upper classes they used to go. So he just invents this that Cecily is his old aunt. She's a charming old lady who lives in this place called Tunbridge Wells, and he wants his uh, cigarette case back. Retreating to back of sofa. So Algernon is not going to give him his cigarette case. But why does she call herself Little Cecily if she is your aunt and lives at Tunbridge Wells? Reading from Little Cecily with her fondest love. So obviously Algernon pounces on that word Little Cecily. So if she is your aunt, then she was saying that she is an old woman, then obviously she should not write little. Uh, Describe herself as little. So obviously, kind of Jack tries to reason with him, moving to sofa and kneeling upon it. My dear fellow, what on earth is there in that? Some aunts are tall, some aunts are not tall. That is a matter that surely an aunt may be allowed to decide for herself. You seem to think that every aunt should be exactly like your aunt. That is absurd. For heaven's sake, give me back my cigarette case. Follows Algernon round the room. Just one moment. I'll call is coming. I will just talk with. Yes. Sorry about that. This there was a phone call. Now, as you can see here, obviously Jack is making up the whole thing. He doesn't want to talk about Cecily, doesn't want to tell Algernon anything about Cecily. And he says that, well, she is a small woman. And she is a small woman, that's why she has written that she is little Cecily. So some aunts are tall, some are short. So why are you so finicky about that? Yes, but why does your aunt call you her uncle? From little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. So now, as you can see, Algernon is revealing little by little the whole sentence. There is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt, but why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle, I can't quite make out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all, it is Ernest. So now Jack is in a fix once again. So obviously, uh, one's aunt would not call her nephew uncle. And obviously, Jack is uh, actually uh, he has said that his name is Ernest, but he goes by the name of Jack. It isn't Ernest, it's Jack. So Jack says, well, it's not Ernest, it's Jack. You have always told me it was Ernest. I have introduced you to everyone as Ernest. You answer to the name of Ernest. You look as if your name was Ernest. You are the most earnest looking person I ever saw in my life. So he goes on and on in a very uh, ridiculous fashion. It is perfectly absurd you're saying that your name isn't Ernest. It's on your cards. Here is one of them, taking it from case. Mr. Ernest Worthing, before the Albany. So obviously the card is there, and he takes it from the cigarette case and reads Mr. Ernest Worthing, and the address is also given there. I'll keep this as a proof that your name is Ernest if ever you attempt to deny it to me or to Gwendolen or to anyone else. Puts the card in his pocket. So he is quite sure that Jack's real name is Ernest. Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country, and the cigarette case was given to me in the country. So now Jack has to own up. Says that, well, I am known as Ernest in town when I come to London, and when I am in the countryside, I am called Jack. And when I was in the countryside, I was given this cigarette case. So that's why it's written Jack. Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily, who lives at Tunbridge Wells, calls you her dear uncle. Come, old boy, you had much better have the thing out at once. So Algernon will not let him rest in peace. He wants the whole truth. My dear Algie, you talk exactly as if you were a dentist. So uh, he's trying to be humorous. It is very vulgar to talk like a dentist when one isn't a dentist. It produces a false impression. So you're not a dentist, so why are you talking like that? As if you want to know the history of and all the things that I was associated with. Well, that is exactly what dentists always do. Now, go on. Tell me the whole thing. I may mention that I have always suspected you of being a confirmed and secret Bunburyist, and I'm quite sure of it now. So now, uh, Algernon, he suspects that uh, Jack is playing the role, playing a dual role. He is someone in the country. He is playing the role of a different person in the country, and when he comes to London, he is another person. He's presenting himself as another person. So that is called Bunburyism. Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by a Bunburyist? I'll reveal to you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you are kind enough to inform me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country. So he wants everything. He wants to know everything. Well, produce my cigarette case first. So on condition that he gets his cigarette case back, he will reveal. Here it is, hand cigarette case. So at last, Jack gets his cigarette case. Now produce your explanation and pray make it improbable. So that sits on sofa. So that it is very something that people will not believe in. My dear fellow, there is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. In fact, it's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew. Cecily, who addresses me as her uncle from motives of respect that you could not possibly appreciate, lives at my place in the country under the charge of our admirable governess, Miss Prism. So now he makes a clean breast of everything. He says that actually the explanation is quite simple. Uh, and quite ordinary. There is a person called Mr. Thomas Cardew who had adopted Jack when he was a little boy. So Jack was supposedly an orphan, and in his will, he had appointed uh, Jack as a guardian to his granddaughter, who is Miss Cecily Cardew. So we now come to know about Cecily. And Cecily, obviously, she addresses Jack as her uncle. And Cecily is under uh, you know, the governess, Miss Prism. Where is that place in the country, by the way? That is nothing to you, dear boy. You are not going to be invited. I may tell you candidly that the place is not in Shropshire. So it is not in Shropshire, and Jack does not have any intention of revealing the name to Algernon. I suspected that, my dear fellow. I have Bunburied all over Shropshire on two separate occasions. Now go on. Why are you Ernest in town and Jack in the country? So he wants to know that. The reason, my dear Algie, I don't know whether you will be able to understand my real motive. You are hardly serious enough. When one is placed in the position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone on all subjects. It's one's duty to do so. And as a high moral tone can hardly be said to conduce very much to either one's health or one's happiness, in order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest, who lives in the Albany and gets into the most dreadful scrapes. That, my dear Algie, is the whole truth, pure and simple. So now he reveals his motives, and he says that, well, since I have been appointed the guardian of Sicily, and that involves that is kind of a very grave and serious duty. Obviously, I have to maintain a high moral tone. So it's not good for my health and my happiness. And when I come to town, I cannot be a very serious person. So I have to pretend to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest who lives in the Albany, and he gets into trouble, and that is why I have to come and rescue him from all those troubles. So he has invented this imaginary brother. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. So again, Algernon uh, holds on to that what Jack had said. It's not rarely pure and never simple, uh, meaning that it is complicated. Modern life would be very tedious if it were either, and modern literature a complete impossibility. So these are some of the, the witty sayings of Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde, he was an extremely witty person, and you will find in his play, in his most of his plays, and even in his prose works, such witticisms. So uh, that wouldn't be at all a bad thing. So Jack seems to agree with Algernon. Literary criticism is not your forte, my dear fellow. Don't try it. You should leave that to people who haven't been at a university. So just look at this. Obviously, people who have been educated at a university, who had a kind of a have a kind of a literary bent of mind, naturally they should be suitable for uh, appreciating literature. But those people who have studied literature, but here Algernon says that uh, it should be left to people who have not been to the university. So you are educated, you should not try it. They do it so well in the daily papers. So again, this is an ironical, sarcastic statement. So the newspaper men, they are always doing literary criticism in the newspapers, criticizing people. What you really are is a Bunburyist. I was quite right in saying you were a Bunburyist. You are one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know. So Algernon declares that you are a real Bunburyist. What on earth do you mean? Now, Jack is not familiar with this, uh, expression, and this is one of Algernon's inventions. Now he explains to Jack, you have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest in order that you may be able to come up to town as often as you like. I have invented an invaluable permanent invalid called Bunbury in order that I may be able to go down into the country whenever I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable. If it wasn't for Bunbury's extraordinary bad health, for instance, I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight, for I have been really engaged to Aunt Augusta for more than a week. So now he makes it clear that just as Jack had invented a younger brother who lives in town, and he is a kind of an irresponsible, rash young man who gets into trouble, and that is why his older brother, that is Jack, has to come to town and try to uh, pacify him and rescue him from all kinds of trouble. So Algernon, he himself has created this, permanent invalid called Bunbury, who is a sick young man. He lives in the country and he often falls sick. And that is why Algernon has the excuse to go to the country. So the person, that is Jack, who lives in the countryside, he comes to the town for, excitement and pleasure. And Algernon, who lives in town, he goes to the countryside in search of pleasure. So it's a kind of a antithetical situation, opposite situation. So he's saying that I wouldn't be able to dine with you at Willis's tonight. So uh, Bunbury's extraordinary bad health. So I'd not be able to dine with you at Willis's. So it's a fashionable restaurant. Uh, near St. James's Theatre, and Oscar Wilde himself used to go there. So he used to go to that uh, to this place called Willis's. I haven't asked you to dine with me anywhere tonight. Jack is surprised. I know you are absurdly careless about sending out invitations. It is very foolish of you. Nothing annoys people so much as not receiving invitations. So he is saying this in a light-hearted way, that you have not invited me. You had much better dine with your Aunt Augusta. I haven't the smallest intention of doing anything of the kind. To begin with, I dined there on Monday, and once a week is quite enough to dine with one's own relations. So, uh, Algernon is not going to dine with Aunt Augusta. He has no intention of doing so because he had dined with her on Monday, and once a week is sufficient. In the second place, whenever I do dine there, I am always treated as a member of the family and sent down with either no woman at all or two. So this is a kind of a thing that he detests. In the third place, I know perfectly well whom she will place me next to tonight. So uh, he knows that as well. She will place me next Mary Farquhar, who always flirts with her own husband across the dinner table. So this lady called Mary Farquhar. That is not very pleasant indeed. It is not even decent, and that sort of thing is enormously on the increase. So to flirt with one's own husband is not decent. So one should flirt with other men or other women. So that's what Algernon says. The amount of women in London who flirt with their own husbands is perfectly scandalous. So you just look at this, the kind of frivolous attitude towards love and marriage and all that. It looks so bad. It is simply washing one's clean linen in public. So it is simply washing one's clean linen in public. So the saying is to wash one's dirty linen in public, uh, to which means that one when one brings out one's dirty secrets in public. But here Algernon is saying the exact opposite. So you should not flirt with your husband in public. Besides, now that I know you to be a confirmed Bunburyist, I naturally want to talk to you about Bunburying. I want to tell you the rules. So Algernon is very interested now that Jack has turned out to be like him. I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I'll kill him in any case. So, the imaginary brother, that is. So, if Gwendolen accepts him, he is not going to have any use for his brother. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. It is rather a bore. So I am going to get rid of Ernest, and I strongly advise you to do the same with your invalid friend who has the absurd name. So he says that I would advise you to kill off your Bunbury. That is, it doesn't say the name, but it's an absurd name. Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury, and if you ever get married, which seems to me extremely problematic, you will be very glad to know Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time of it. So you should know Bunbury, you should get acquainted with him. That is nonsense. If I marry a charming girl like Gwendolen, and she is the only girl I ever saw in my life that I would marry, I certainly won't want to know Bunbury. So he denies, he doesn't want to know Bunbury. Then your wife will. You don't seem to realize that in married life, three is company and two is none. So again, reversal of the common saying, uh, obviously, uh, a kind of a light-hearted way of saying this, sententiously, that, my dear young friend, is the theory that the corrupt French drama has been propounding for the last 50 years. So obviously that is the influence you are having because you watch the corrupt French theater, the French drama. Yes, and that the happy English home has proved in half the time. So the happy English home has adopted those principles. For heaven's sake, don't try to be cynical. It's perfectly easy to be cynical. So do not take everything in a very cynical and light-hearted way. Try to criticize everything. My dear fellow, it isn't easy to be anything nowadays. There's such a lot of beastly competition about. The sound of an electric bell is heard. Ah, that must be Aunt Augusta. Only relatives or creditors ever ring in that Wagnerian manner. So, the you know, Wagnerian manner here means the operas of Richard Wagner, and who lived from 1813 to 1883. And some of his operas were Tristan and Isolde and Parsifal. And these were quite popular in England. And Wilde is talking about the loudness of the music in these dramas, and that is replicated in the loudness, the sound of the electric bell. So obviously he says that only relatives or creditors, people who would get money from you, so they ring the bell in that loud way. Now, if I get her out of the way for 10 minutes so that you can have an opportunity for proposing to Gwendolen, may I dine with you tonight at Willis's? So he gives him an opportunity to propose to Gwendolen. So Gwendolen is coming to a dinner and with Aunt Augusta, and Aunt Augusta is a formidable lady. So it is necessary for Jack to have Gwendolen's company alone. So he says that if you allow me to dine with you at tonight at Willis's, I will let you talk with Gwendolen alone. I suppose so, if you want to. So Jack is quite, he agrees to this. Yes, but you must be serious about it. I hate people who are not serious about meals. It is so shallow of them. So you should be serious about the dinner. Enter Lane, Lady Bracknell and Miss Fairfax. So the two women are about to come in. Algernon goes forward to meet them. Enter Lady Bracknell and Gwendolen. Good afternoon, dear Algernon. I hope you are behaving very well. So Lady Bracknell reminds Algernon of that he should be a good mannered gentleman. I am feeling very well, Aunt Augusta. So actually, Aunt Augusta didn't say that I hope you are well, but she said that you are behaving very well. So behaving or your manners were important. But look at the way Algernon replies. I'm feeling very well, Aunt Augusta. So he is not going to vouchsafe to her that he is behaving very well, but of course he is feeling very well. That's not quite the same thing. So Lady Bracknell says that, well, behaving very well and feeling very well, these are not the same things. In fact, the two things rarely go together. Sees Jack and bows to him with icy coldness. So she doesn't like Jack, and she just bows to him very formally. To Gwendolen, dear me, you are smart. I am always smart. Am I not, Mr. Worthing? You are quite perfect, Miss Fairfax. Oh, I hope I am not that. It would leave no room for developments. I intend to develop in many directions. Gwendolen and Jack sit down together in the corner. So they are sitting down and they are going to have a conversation. Now, Lady Bracknell says, I'm sorry if we are a little late, Algernon, but I was obliged to call on dear Lady Harbury. I hadn't been there since her poor husband's death. I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger. And now I'll have a cup of tea and one of those nice cucumber sandwiches you promised me. So just look at this speech that Lady Bracknell makes here. She is a bit late. Why? Because she had to go and call one of her friends, Lady Harbury. And Lady Harbury had lost her husband. And now Lady Bracknell comments that this loss had really improved her looks and her general health. So losing one's husband, it really does a lot of good to a woman. So I never saw a woman so altered. She looks quite 20 years younger, so looks quite young. So when her husband was alive, she looked old, but now that she is a widow, she looks like a young woman. And now those cucumber sandwiches. Certainly, Aunt Augusta goes over to tea table. Won't you come and sit here, Gwendolen? She calls Gwendolen. Thanks, Mama. I'm quite comfortable where I am. So Gwendolen wants to talk with Jack Worthing. Picking up an empty plate in horror. Now, Algernon, what he has done, he has unconsciously, he was not really looking at the plate, he was just picking up those cucumber sandwiches and eating them. Good heavens! Lane, why are there no cucumber sandwiches? I ordered them specially. Now he asks Len. He is surprised to find the plate empty. Len says gravely, there were no cucumbers in the market this morning, sir. I went down twice. So now Lane understands that he has to save the situation, save Algernon somehow. So he says that I couldn't find any cucumbers. Actually, he had made those cucumber sandwiches, as you know, and those were had been eaten by Algernon himself gravely. So he says this in a very serious tone. No cucumbers. So Algernon is thunderstruck. No, sir, not even for ready money. So even if I were to give cash uh, then and there, but I couldn't get any. That will do, Len. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Goes out. So he has saved the situation for his master. I am greatly distressed, Aunt Augusta, about there being no cucumbers, not even for ready money. So now he makes the excuse. It's become easier for him. It really makes no matter, Algernon. I had some crumpets with Lady Herberry. So she makes light of the situation that she did not, would not be getting any uh, cucumber sandwiches, just had some crumpets, who seems to me to be living entirely for pleasure now. So Lady Herberry had treated her to some crumpets. I hear her hair has turned quite gold from grief. So now again, the sarcastic remark. The usual saying, of course, is that one's hair would turn grey from grief, but uh, Lady Herberry here, she was grieving so much for her husband that her hair had turned gold. So it had taken on a golden color. It certainly has changed its color. From what cause, I, of course, cannot say. Algernon crosses and hands tea. Thank you. I have quite a treat for you tonight, Algernon. I am going to send you down with Mary Farquhar. She is such a nice woman and so attentive to her husband. It's delightful to watch them. So Algernon was just talking to Jack about Mary Farquhar and the way she is attentive towards her husband. I am afraid, Aunt Augusta, I shall have to give up the pleasure of dining with you tonight after all. So now Algernon says that I cannot dine with you tonight. Frowning, I hope not, Algernon. It would put my table completely out. Your uncle would have to dine upstairs. Fortunately, he is accustomed to that. So, uh, Aunt Augusta is not at all pleased to hear this. He says, well, that would be a kind of a situation that she was not prepared for, since your uncle would dine upstairs. So they do not dine together. He is accustomed, he is used to that. He, for some reason or the other, Lady Bracknell and her husband, they do not eat together. So that is the situation of the upper classes. It is a great bore, and I need hardly say a terrible disappointment to me. But the fact is, I have just had a telegram to say that my poor friend Bunbury is very ill again. Exchanges glances with Jack. They seem to think I should be with him. So again, he gives that excuse that he has to go and attend to his friend Bunbury, who is a chronic invalid. It is very strange. This Mr. Bunbury seems to suffer from curiously bad health. So Lady Bracknell is a bit suspicious. Yes, poor Bunbury is a dreadful invalid. So he is a real mess. Well, I must say, Algernon, that I think it is high time that Mr. Bunbury made up his mind whether he was going to live or to die. This shilly-shallying with the question is absurd. So obviously, Lady Bracknell is fed up with Bunbury being getting ill. Uh, Shilly-shallying means not really making up one's mind. Nor do I in any way approve of the modern sympathy with invalids. She doesn't approve of these invalids. I consider it morbid. Illness of any kind is hardly a thing to be encouraged in others. Health is the primary duty of life. I am always telling that to your poor uncle, but he never seems to take much notice. So she goes on and on about all these topics. As far as any improvement in his ailment goes, I should be much obliged if you would ask Mr. Bunbury from me to be kind enough not to have a little relapse on Saturday, for I rely on you to arrange my music for me. It is my last reception, and one wants something that will encourage conversation, particularly at the end of the season when everyone has practically said whatever they had to say, which in most cases was probably not much. So here Lady Bracknell makes quite a long speech, and she disapproves of invalids. She doesn't want people to get ill, and illness is something that should not be encouraged in others. Health is all that one should have, and she is also wishes that Bunbury would not have a relapse. He should not get sick on Saturday because she wants Algernon to arrange her music for him, and she's going to give a kind of a reception. It's going to be a kind of a last reception, and so she wants some conversation going. So this is the situation here, and I'll stop here today. So let us stop here, and as you can see, the play is a very kind of a humorous one, where you will find all these characters, especially Algernon. He has his opinions, and how Jack and Algernon, they have created these two imaginary characters for their own purposes. And so the thing goes on like this. Uh, so we come to the end of this uh, reading this text.